Oh hey McFly subscribers. So I'm tying this today. It's called a Kwan Fly. I believe that's how you pronounce it. But they're basically, it's kind of like a redfish slider in a way. Made in the toad style here, which this is kind of like the toad style. Like a tarpon toad or something. But you know, these are for redfish, so the guy that asked me to tie them wants them for redfish. Also tied up some redfish cracks, which are similar. These are kind of more slider style flies, kind of like that. So he wanted chartreuse for the Kwan, so here they are. I add this little pink stuff on the back, but we'll get into that in a minute. But this is what I'm tying today. So this is one of those tying session type videos. So I am not doing a full how-to. You know, this is not a full tying tutorial. This is just kind of sitting back and tying with me. Doesn't mean I'm not going to give some pointers and info on tying this. You'll probably learn how to tie it with this, but it is a longer video because of the style that I have to tie. Now I've got my kids here. As you all know that watch the channel, my kids are here. Because of COVID, no daycare, just like everyone's dealing with. COVID's not easy, but anyway. So I've got to tie like this because it's really tough to do voiceovers the way I used to do it, the really high-end type videos that I used to do. So so for now, until COVID's over, this is how I'm going to tie. So we start off some hackle. Okay, this is a size 4 hook, and this is a size 6 hackle. Okay, so a little bit, little smaller. Doesn't have to be really big. Okay, and I tie in this way, so I strip off a little bit of like leave a tag end here for the stem, and I tie it in perpendicular this way, and then to really secure it, I bend that stem up and then tie that stem part down, and then so I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. Capture it. And that should, one feather, if it's a decent sized feather, should be able to tie quite a few. Okay, and this is, you don't have to go chartreuse feather, even with the chartreuse, so you could probably go brown, look really good. Even grizzly, regular grizzly. This is a chartreuse grizzly that I thought was really nice. That's what I'm doing. And then you want to tie back down on it, kind of face those fibers out forward a little. Then I've got this. This is Kraken dubbing, but any dubbing from any brand that has these little legs in it would work. You don't have to do this. This is some extra I do. So this is just an extra thing. This is not even part of the normal pattern. Okay. So I tie in, bring it back around. Couple really tight wraps just to compress all that, and then we need some craft fur. So kind of can't show you how I cut craft fur here, but I'm sure you guys know how. If not, you want quite a bit, quite a big size. I think in one of my past videos I showed how to cut craft fur correctly. It was just like specifically like just a video on that, so you could always check that out. Search in my videos somewhere. Maybe I'll try to list it here. So you can see there's a big chunk of craft fur, fairly large. Okay, pinch up a little bit from it, and then pull out these fuzzies. You just don't need that. That's a lot of bulk that you don't need. Okay, see? Alright, any crazy fibers, any super long, that looks good. And then you want this 1, 2, about 2.5 to 3 times the hook length. And then when I tie it in, I kind of push it down a little over the hook, as you can see. Kind of makes a really neat, nice and tidy tie-in. do quite a, a couple really tight turns. You can see how that hides a little bit of the fiber there. The pink kind of wraps around it a little bit. That's how I do it. And then you want to cut this off. I don't know if you guys can see that on there, but cut that off at an angle. And then try to you're going to have that one bump at the front because of that right here, but that's okay because of the dubbing. But you want to try to make all this as even as possible, and you'll see why in a minute. Alright, then I'm going to take you want to bar this. You don't have to, but I think it makes it look nice. Okay. And then take a small or medium size roughly bead chain eye. Tight turns, figure eighting this. You want it perpendicular perfectly. And then once you figure eight it, you want to go under it to really lock that into place. And that, I mean, that's not gonna, well, a little bit of turn there, but this really takes a lot of force. And then really to make sure that's not going to move, here's a little dot of super glue, and that's just not going to go anywhere once it's super glued, once that dries. It's all done. Alright. That super glue really hardens up that thread there, so kind of makes it not want to give. Alright, so as you can see, there is a bump there, okay? So, and I'll show you what we can do to kind of mitigate that. So you're going to start with chartreuse. Well, you don't have to. I'm starting with chartreuse, but I want to show you. So you want a clump about this big of like EP fiber. I'm actually using Congo hair. And then cut it in half. And then in half once more. You're left with a piece like that. Cut the other one in half, so you'll get 4 pieces. I generally find this is a secondary color, so the first color I usually get 3, and the secondary I get 2, so that'll last you a couple of flies. And then you take, so this is the first one, I already did that, but I gotta check on my kids really quick, guys, 1 second. Alright. So next, this is the primary color. This is the chartreuse. I really do like the look of alternating this. Alright, so you want to do an X wrap. Oh. X wrap on top. Right? And so I'm using really heavy thread. This is Vivis 140 power thread. And so I only need 1 X wrap on top, so see, it keeps popping off. But so basically here, let me show you guys really quick how I do this. See if I can do it at this angle. My hands, well, I'll go this way. So wrap over, then come up over it, see, and then a wrap over it like that. Alright, and then you just grab it and you can push it up to wherever you want it, right? It'll leave that X on there. Well, it should. It didn't this time. The first one usually is a little funky. So once you do, you have that. Stop that from spinning. Then you're going to want to pull down tight, pull forward, and wrap back up on it a little bit, as you can see there. So that really locks it into place, and that's not going to pull out one direction or another, because you really tighten that. And so 140 will, you know, allows you to really pull tight. You might not be able to pull as tight with like a 6/0 thread. If you are using something like a 6/0 thread, I mean, I highly recommend getting this. This is good. Vivas 140 is good, but do 2 wraps, 2 X's, I mean, over top. So again, exit, pull it up as close as you can, tighten it, and then wrap up onto it, and it kind of locks it into place, as you can see. And then bring it back down a little bit. So you can see I've got more of like a little bit light of like a light olive, so it's not as bright. It's not a chartreuse. So I'm alternating, and now I'm going back with the chartreuse. It can get a little tricky. You got to move some of these fibers out of the way once you're, you know, stacking tight. But you want them to stay as perpendicular and kind of good, you know, perpendicular as possible. So that way they don't look all funky. Now another thing to think about, guys, if you're doing these kind of flies, you got to put a lot of pressure like I'm doing here. Get a good bobbin holder. Otherwise, I mean, I've broken bobbin holders before doing that, so some of the, you know, this thread is really, really tough. So by the way, I think I mentioned this before, I am using a barbless hook. As you guys know, I usually work with resin. I like their stuff a lot. I like the cost of it. I think it's good quality stuff at a good price, but they don't have barbless, and this guy wanted barbless, so they don't have barbless. They do for their nip stuff, but not for, you know, these saltwater flies, these bigger, you know, bass stuff. So I notice, by the way, I can't do it backwards, but if you kind of lock your, when you're whip finishing, a lot of times the eyes, when you're whip finishing with the eye, it gets in the way and kind of makes you not be able to whip finish. If you lock it up under the eye, okay, it allows you to get in there a little tighter, whip finish a little better. Oh, trapped something there. And then I pinch right there and I really tighten it, and then I try to whip finish a second time. 2, 4, or 5 turn whip finishes, that should really lock it in solid. Alright, and that's what you got. So now we're going to trim it. So you want to just kind of separate this from the tail, okay? Try to get all the fibers that you can. Pull them up like so, and then use the eyes here as a guide and angle your scissors. Now I've got some longer scissors that I like using for this. They're hair scissors, but angle it at an angle up, as you can see. And that'll give you a really nice taper, and it'll make both sides even. Okay? For the most part. Sometimes you need a little extra bit there. But there we go. So you can see that made both sides pretty darn even. And see, it's got that kind of alternating color there. Close enough of a color that it looks like one solid piece, but just a little bit different, so it kind of changes slightly. And then really, to lock everything in place, I'm going to do 2 things here. So I take a little bit of super glue, again, for that knot. Okay, and then I let that dry for a minute, okay, to kind of get everything all prepared for my next fly. While that's drying, like cutting if I'm out cutting more of the fiber. When I'm tying, I actually do like these shorter scissors, but yeah. So yeah, guys, if you guys are fishing this and you guys want a non-barbless, if you want a barb on your hook, you don't mind it. Risen does have some pretty decent saltwater hooks. They're heavy duty. They're very, very strong hooks. There are sharper hooks out there. Usually a thinner wire. So I mean, again, for something so strong, these are really good, you know, good hooks, and they're sharp, pretty darn sharp for being such a thicker wire versus, you know, a thinner wire. So I find with thicker wires, you might not get as much penetration, but you're gonna also you know, you're going to want to fish these anyways with like an 8-weight. Should be enough to be able to penetrate and get that, you know, get the barb in. And then, you know, but they're pretty good. And the big thing about it is the price. They're really well priced. I mean, some of the best priced hooks out there that are decent quality. These aren't junky hooks, you know. So that's Bone Dry by Solarez. So I put a pretty hefty amount right on top once that super glue's dried a little. And then I also do a pretty hefty amount right on the bottom. There we go. Now that eye is never going to rotate now. I mean, there's just no way. That is in there solid with super glue and UV resin. And that's not going to come loose either. This is a pretty hefty fly. This is heavy duty. I mean, this should last quite a few good strikes. It just shouldn't come apart on you with almost any fish, even toothy critters, you know. So anyway, that's that. That's that fly. It's done. So that's the Kwan. You know, once you learn how to tie this part, you can go pretty quick with it. I mean, I can usually tie these, you know, maybe about 5, 6, 7 of them in an hour, I would say, if I really get going. So that's not too bad. I might be able to put down 10 of them if I'm really kind of working quick on them. So not bad for, you know, a good saltwater pattern. Similar, again, these are similar. They take about the same amount of time. They're, you know, maybe a little quicker with these, but because you're not having to tie in so many different, you know, things there. But these are good little patterns. You can see the pink shows through, especially when it's wet, and then these legs kind of are coming out. I like it. I think this is a, you know, good little pattern. Looks like a shrimp. So it's kind of what it's supposed to mimic, but yeah, hope he catches on them. I think this guy's fishing this Carolinas somewhere, north or south. I think it's north, but he does both trout and saltwater. So he got some trout flies from me before, so now he's getting some saltwater stuff. Gonna go fish some redfish. So anyway, guys, I got one more to tie for him. I've already gotten 4. I actually filmed another one, and I realized I didn't have the settings right in my camera, so filmed an entire one and came back a second time. So I got these here. Here. Got to learn these new angles here, guys. I'm not used to tying this way, but see, I got 4 of them so far, so I'll get another one. But yeah, guys, so hope you enjoyed that. Definitely check out some of my other videos where, you know, it's not just the tying sessions. I do some really high quality. I wish I could continue that right now, but soon once COVID is kind of a little easier and kids can go back to school and I'm able to, you know, be here and do voiceovers and spend a little more effort on these videos, I can go back to the regular. But this, I just, it takes so long. It usually takes me about I don't know, 2 or 3 hours to edit. and then a little more, I would say, once I, then I have to put the voiceovers in. We're talking like 6, 7, sometimes 8 hours total to really kind of nail these down, the regular fly tying videos that I used to do. But now that, this, I mean, it's quick. I'm just talking at the camera. Sometimes I edit out a little bit, like my, I won't edit this one, but sometimes I have to go back, and edit out my daughter crying in the background or whatever, or something. But makes it a little easier. I'm not having to do voiceovers and all that, so it just takes the editing time down. And it's not as really tight on, so I can actually tie flies that I'm selling, so I'm not doing anything extra, any kind of extra tying. I'm doing the same stuff that I would normally do. So anyway, yeah, so guys, go check out Risen. They are my sponsor, okay, but I really do think that they have some really good quality stuff. Their rods and reels are amazing, so if you guys are in the market for something, then definitely check that out. Otherwise, they have some good quality hooks and beads and stuff like that. They sell good stuff, and for a good price, really. It's hard to beat their price, so go check that out. Again, www.risenfly.com, and also you guys get a discount, so type in McFly at checkout. So again, my channel name, McFly. Check that, type that in at discount, and you'll get 15% off of everything you buy, whenever you want. Okay, so they did that for all my subscribers. So anyone that watches, you guys get a discount whenever you feel like. So anyway, yeah, I hope you guys like this video. I will see you guys in the next video. Now you go catch some fish.